have that up first and then go. So let's see if we can get that connected. Ah, there it is. All right, yeah. You have to have your stream open before you do any of the other stuff. So, all right. So, what are we doing? You're probably like, what the heck's going on here, guys? So we are going through and doing the same stuff that we did yesterday. In fact, you guys should be able to set the challenge with exclamation mark challenge, and you should be able to set the answer with exclamation mark answer. And I can set the challenge first if nobody else wants to. But before I do that, a couple things. We need to get rid of that stuff because we don't need it right now. We're going to watch here. And we need to make sure that we're running the newest version of the Stream Answers Colchis. So get that going. That's running now. And let's go ahead and I'm going to set the challenge. See if that'll change the file. Yep. Can you do that? Also, while we're sitting here hanging out, talk about a interesting concept of that's super annoying. Interesting concept of, let me fix that real quick. That's gonna bug me to no end. Filter, crop. What was that? Left. All right. Better. Okay. So what's happening? Can anybody do that command? And all you gotta do is do answer, and it'll answer it for us and drop it in our system. And we're testing these scripts right now to see if they work. We know mine works with some limitations. We're testing a couple of the other guys to see how theirs are going. So, I guess while we're waiting, we can go through what the script does. It's perfectly acceptable. There's some informative stuff at the top that looks like it's scrolled off. And then what directory are we watching? Or file as well. So data stream, right? Stream answers. That's true. That's what we're doing. And then here's the loop, while read-r event do, and then at the bottom is done, and we throw in an I notify wait, MRE, to check for create, modify, delete of that file. All right, now all the block of code in here is going to happen every time one of you guys sends in one of those events, right? So this is what's happening here. All right, so let me go see if we get any answers from anybody. All right. So my answer would be something like, go do it over on the YouTube side. My answer would be answer touch file, something like that. Mine would be something like that. Let's see if that sends in. That should send in. Answered on YouTube. Yeah, there it goes. All right, so did it. Mine created a bunch. So user is Hetanis answered on YouTube. Their command is, oh, well, that command doesn't come in perfectly as far as the color goes, but that's probably because I did some other special characters in there. But it did happen. Quartz1 used it and answer on Twitch and said touch a bunch of things. And that would answer, that would work. Yeah, file name 1 to 100. Yeah, that would do it. Can anybody do that in a loop? Can you do it in a loop and have it print out each time? That'd be a fun one. I mean, the reason, by the way, I show you guys sometimes, it's fine to do wildcard expansion like that. That's a perfectly acceptable thing. But it's also good to know how to loop over a a set of a file or any other thing. So it's important to use, if you are going to write a lot of bash or use bash, which you're probably going to as a Linux admin. You're probably going to use a fair amount of bash because that's how you interact with the system. It could be argued that you're going to do a lot more, Ansible and maybe even some Perl or Python scripting if you're going that route, and depending on what your team makeup is. But I guess looking at it like that, yeah, can you do it in a loop? Who can do that in a loop? And by the way, it drops the command over on the right too. The last things that we were doing. Yeah, the other way you could do it is like I think. Well, I think my command will work. Let's see. I'm actually curious now if my command will work. So I'm going to say answer. I'm going to be throwing some stuff in there. So let's see. I'm curious to see if this will all parse right or not, but we'll see. For I in. Let's do $ that sequence 100 do touch file $I done ls file pipe word count -l. Let's see if mine works. So I'm gonna make them all, and then I'm gonna ls them out. Oh, well, I need an exclamation. I needed something after my. Hold on. That was me being dumb. You needed a right there asterisk. If that's gonna work, it'll do it right there. So then it sees 200 now. Well, it makes sense that it's gonna find 200 files because we had, well, on that box we probably had file and then something else. I think file name was the other one. Yeah. So it found file name as well. So that's kind of fine. Could we do file and limit it to just a number after it, not file name, but now file and a number? Can somebody do that? That'd be a good challenge. By the way, every 2 minutes you guys can change the challenge, so you can have a different challenge if you wanted to. And then you guys see the commands popping up over on the right over there. That's Promtail feeding over. By the way, we need to go look at how to modify Promtail to read in real time, because Promtail. Let's go look at the Promtail directives that we have. So. When we do our scrape, I'm curious. So watch config, watch file, minimum poll frequency, 250. So it looks like it's polling for changes every quarter of a second. So that's not too bad. But hold on. We're using the client. Oh, well, that's how it sends off. I want the scrape. What's our scrape at? How often does it send this over? Here's our script configs. So we're scraping job. Always do job. I don't really touch any of these other things typically. I'm doing a file. Scrape Kafka events. That's awesome. From consumer group, we might have to play with that a little bit. Oh, we actually did that in our in one of our labs. Now that I think about it. We can relabel static configs, file SD configs, files containing targets to scrape. I don't see. Here's our configs, right? So scrape config. I think the reading is fine. It does it. It's just a second. It's one line behind all the time. Promtail sending second to last line. It's not doing the last line. It's not doing. buffered. Yeah, and you know, it's funny because I write so many logs, I've never seen this before until we're doing this here, and then I don't see it. So Justin, what's happening here is you guys can put challenges in. You just do !challenge and then whatever Linux type question you want, and then people are answering them if they want to. So over here, it'll pop up with an answer. It'll show the answer here, and then it'll pop over here in our logs from Loki for, presumably forever. So that's the main thing we're doing. I'm also sitting around and I'm waiting for the wife to get home. She has these beauty school friends that she went to school with like almost 30 years ago, and she's still friends with them. And they go out I think they do like one Tuesday a month or something like that. And I normally teach college tonight, but I'm already done, so then I'm just waiting for her to get back. Linux developer said switch how to set up a sudo that can only update the system packages and possibly install new packages. Okay, that'd be an interesting one. I don't know if anybody will be able to answer that in a simple thing, but I guess people I don't think anybody can answer that and put that in there. But I mean, I guess they could try. That would be something to try for sure. Also, it's interesting. So it's funny. Normally, you guys see me with my glasses on. I don't have my glasses on. I have my contacts on right now, and the wife knows what that means. There's a clear implication if I'm still wearing my contacts after noon. If I'm wearing my contacts, it's because I wrestled in the morning, and if I'm still wearing them after noon, I don't sleep in my contacts, right? So I take them out, and then if I take a nap in the afternoon. But I worked in a data center this afternoon, so I was in a data center for about an hour and a half, 2 hours. We were taking pictures of we have 5 racks that need power work done on them. And when you do power work, if you've properly set up an A and a B side to the rack, it shouldn't matter. But we didn't set up, well, I was around when 3 of the racks were set up, and then the other 2 racks were done by the contract, the customer. So the reason we, or I guess the reason we didn't know is we didn't set up their stuff. But then there's one thing that I literally didn't understand in there from a power perspective. I couldn't understand where one of these devices was getting its power because it wasn't getting it from either of the racks. And you say, well, was it getting it power over Ethernet? It's a little bit bigger device than you would normally see get power over Ethernet. But it did have a heavy-duty coax type cable coming into it, and I've never seen power over coax, so it was weird. I was looking at is that a powered device? Because I don't know. So I wasn't clear on one of the devices, but all the other devices in there I knew pretty well. So how's it going, Robodom? We're just hanging out. Robodom, you can set the challenge with !challenge. The Linux developer put up a challenge for the community here. How to set up a sudo that can only update the system package and possibly install new packages, right? So how might we do that? How would we set up a sudo file to only do that one, only allow that one thing? And I would say, it would be very, very difficult to me. So the way I would set that up is first off, I would only give anybody the ability to ever install anything in my systems down in the dev environment if I did. And if I did, it would be, specific packages. But the way that I would control the specificity of the packages is the way I always control things, which is I control the repos. And I would not let them modify the repos. And it would be like Henry Ford with the Model T. Does everybody know the old story of Henry Ford with the Model T and and you could get it in black? Anybody ever heard that story? They were like, Henry Ford, you make this Model T and you only make it in black. Can we get it in a different color? And he said, yeah, you can get it in whatever color you want as long as it's black. That's what he told people. I don't know if you guys ever heard that story, but that's a true story, right? He said you can have it in whatever color you want. You can buy this in whatever color you want as long as that color that you want is black. So the reason I say that, right? The reason that's an important thing to note is The reason I point that out, the reason that's good to know is I don't even remember what my thought process was. I have lost the train, guys. I've completely lost whatever I was doing. It's like I just reset. Um, yeah. So, Black Site Valkyrie wants to collaborate. I don't know who that is. Maybe they're raiding me. I'm not sure 100%. But we're gonna keep doing this. If anybody wants to do this, you guys can. It's kind of interesting. I've not been like completely. I don't want to say like static, but sometimes I've been coming on earlier in the day. Sometimes I've been coming on later, so we can kind of do that stuff. But where are we at? So most of the stuff, yeah, control the repos. That's exactly what I was saying. Yeah, I will let you have access to the repos, but only the software that I control. And when I say I am like, it's almost like I'm the law, like I'm Judge Dredd. I am the law, right? What I'm really doing is I am enforcing, I am acting as the agent of our GRC, Governance, Risk, and Compliance team, and also my own team because we want to keep our sanity and not just have shit everywhere on our systems. But I'm acting as like an agent of the company, basically, to keep, because when you sign an admin policy, when you sign, if any of you have ever signed like an admin policy for root, it's different than a normal acceptable use policy. Acceptable use policies, typically you kind of agree to them every time you get onto a system. But an admin policy, you typically re-sign once a year with a company. And what will happen with that is when a company does that, they will kind of lost my train of thought there. But yeah, they're giving you like more authority. It's almost like you're being commissioned to do that kind of stuff. So something to think about. Black Site Valkyrie, thanks for the raid. I thought I saw a little message and I was like, I wonder if they're raiding over here. So hopefully you guys had a good time over there. Hopefully you learned some good stuff. You're probably doing some kind of cybersecurity or something of the like. We do Linux here. I mostly just play around in Linux. And what we're doing right now, if people participate, is you can set the challenge, and the challenge will get bigger or smaller down there. And then once the challenge is set, you guys can do !answer both on Twitch or YouTube side, either side, and it'll send things into the system here, and then it'll run it. It'll run any command you want. So even reboot, right? It'll do any command you guys want. Wait, what was I saw it change. Control byte, you have a directory of timestamped ISO 8601 CVSs with headers. Merge the CVSs into a single CVS while preserving date order. Okay. That'd be a good one. Anybody have sample data we can do that with? I guess, I mean, I can make a bunch of CSVs, yes, I said CVS. CSVs, so comma separated value files, presumably with the same, so you're sorting everything together, right? You're doing a sort on everything by the first column, which is the default. But, well, we'd have to have a data source for you guys to do that. I mean, I could make them real quick, probably, but... well, I'd have to go put it out somewhere. That's too much of a hassle. Seems like too much like work. Also, it was funny, I got access with one of my customers yesterday to get in and do a bunch of STIG work for him. STIGs are like the Secure Technical Implementation Guidelines. And what happened was, then I went in today, we were on a call with like 10 of us, probably like 5, 6 of us. And all the accesses were gone. I could still get into like they had like a multi-factor sign in and all this stuff. It's always a hassle to get into the systems, right? I finally got in, and it was like just like an Okta, and somebody had given me like 80 apps inside of their company, but I didn't have the VM. Like I had to get a Citrix, I had to do all this other crap, but then I couldn't do the one thing that I was supposed to do, which was hop into the VMs. It's not ever just so easy as giving somebody your public key and having them throw it on a box anymore. Nowadays companies have to control the whole network, especially when you're dealing with healthcare. This was one of our healthcare customers, and I'm helping them be compliant with HIPAA, and being compliant with HIPAA is a little bit more than just the normal, low level Linux stuff that we do. There's some upper layer stuff that they have to think about as well. So, yeah. Same type of stuff we're actually doing in the security engineering course, in fact, if anybody's wondering. All right, I'll answer some questions. Let's see. What is, yeah. We would need data to do that one, unfortunately. So, answer, let's do, we'll set the challenge. See if that one's shorter. But that may be a little simpler for people, maybe. Can you show the system kernel call from Grub as it booted? Hey Nick, how's it going? Over on the YouTube side. I'm doing good. I am just hanging out and waiting for people to send commands into the Linux boxes, because we have a bunch of Linux boxes back-ended off of this that you guys could send commands in. All you need to do is answer answer the question, which is, can you show the system kernel call from the Grub as it booted? Or actually any system call. I mean, it wouldn't matter. We're using Grub, but if you weren't using Grub, how might you do that, right? This is a thing to think about. Also, Robodom's telling everybody about Discord. We have a Discord with almost 4,000 people. Most of them are doing some type of Linux or trying to get into doing some type of Linux professionally. We run a couple of classes. I'd say a couple of classes a year, but I'm trying to keep my sanity, so not do too many of them. Currently, there's a Linux Systems Administration one, and then we're almost done building the network. We're almost done a security engineering course. And then I think the next one I'm going to run will probably be not an admin, but the next one I plan on running will be Ansible, like Ansible and automation type stuff. So, yeah, again, I don't know. I think I'm just beat and tired. Also, I found a new game to play, so there's a lot of stuff going on there. Game that I've been playing is called Ember Shard. Is that what it's called? Ember Ward. Ember Ward is pretty fun though. I don't know if any of you guys like playing tower defense type games. It's a tower defense game, which I'm a big fan of tower defense. I think they're fun games. I think they have a lot of unique types of challenges, especially when you get to build the level as you go. So this game has kind of a unique set of building the level as you go, and it makes for a fun little set of challenges and stuff. So there's that. Yeah, this would show. So here's the command line call right here. There's a few other ones, but this is the command line call in a Werewolf container. This is how the container was called from the system right here. So that's kind of an interesting. That's definitely different than most systems that I boot. Although I've been telling you guys the last year and a half or so, I've built out a lot of Werewolf clusters, deployed many thousands of nodes using Werewolf, and it's real. I don't want to say it's like becoming a standard, but it's really becoming a big thing in the government space. Another way to do this is one of my favorites. Answer. That's another way to do it right there. You just cat proc command line, and that'll do it as well. So I have a set of challenges. Move this down. I have my normal. We could turn on the. Where's the old Socratic method? Let's see. Hold on. Let me check my Socratic method. I do have government clearance. Yep. If you're talking U.S. government, yes. I have a few varying ones for different reasons. All right, hold on. See, here's Socratic Linux. All right. So if you guys have never seen Socratic Linux, I'll pop this one up just because I think that this one might be fun for people. I think that this one lends itself well to this challenge, or to this type of learning. If we were doing it, so how this would look then is this will ask questions, and if you guys want to throw answers in, you guys can throw answers in real time, right? You could actually throw them. Yeah. And every few minutes, that's going to change whatever the question is. So I'll just leave that running over there as we kind of go. So yeah, learning Linux through the Socratic method. This is a thing, we've done this a few times with the group, and then the answers for this are all over in our Discord. They're down in the presentations channel. So if you were like, hey, I want to learn Linux, but I don't even know where to start, this would be a place to start, right? Say someone had a secret clearance and it expired when they left the military. How would you reactivate so you can apply for tech job? So Nick, normally what people do, you gotta find a company that's willing to sponsor you. If you tried to activate your own clearance, you could technically do all the paperwork and activate a clearance. It would be a lot harder because typically you have to have a sponsor from the government. It is last I checked, a TS, so like a top secret, is like over, I think it's over 200 grand right now to get. So you have to find a company that's willing to sponsor for that. And the only ones I know of that do that are like Lockheed, Boeing, General Dynamics, maybe this one that's coming up called anyways, but so the point is, like, it's very difficult to do it unless you have a company that can do it for you. So yeah, if you want to get that clearance, it's a little harder. Hey Trevor, over on the YouTube side, how's it going? I threw the Linux Socratic method up so people could, answer questions for themselves if they wanted. And actually, I'll move this back up just a little bit so it's not, system challenge isn't in the way as much. But what will happen here, there we go, is yeah, it'll start asking you questions, and then all you got to do is think through, what do I think I know? Can you list the number of CPUs? So if you guys do answer, I think answer is limited by about 10 seconds or so. So if exclamation mark answer comes in too fast, it does stop it. But it is going to multiple different machines. I'm also running this on, I'm using a different command or a different backend to catch this than normal. So I'm kind of curious to see how it goes. Nick said, so in order to be sponsored, they have to they have to typically hire you, yeah. And some of those companies, like when I got hired on Lockheed Martin in 2009, I had like a 10-month wait for my clearance, my top secret. And it was 10 months. And they just said, come to work every morning, go sit in a cube. We're going to pay you. You can't do anything. And I'm like, okay. All right. And they had like a little, me and some of the guys that were doing this would walk down and go have breakfast in the morning, go sit in our cubes with our laptops. Yeah. 10 months just sitting in a cubicle. Yeah. Controlbot, you said top secret average is 2 years. I can't imagine nowadays with all the people they have to look at, and like probably have to go through like social media history nowadays, and I couldn't even imagine. Well, so Nick, it has to be a company that is willing to do that. So the companies that I know of that will do it are like typically like big defense contractors or doing government. I got sponsored with Lockheed when I got my top secret. I got sponsored with oh, we missed somebody's answer. Somebody had a good answer on there. What was it? Deathwish on Twitch said LSCPU. LSCPU would show you the number of CPUs. You'd have to count them though. 0 and 1, right? Oh, there it is. CPUs right there. Boom. Online CPU list, 0 and 1. So there's 2 of them. Good. You'd shorten that down too if you wanted. Yeah, top secret takes a long time. You have to find, you just have to find somebody willing to do that. Mine was through Lockheed Martin, and then I was with a company called CGI for a while. They're the ones, most of you guys know that name. You're like, where do I know that name? Somewhere around 2010 or so, I heard that name. So they were the ones, maybe even closer to 2012. They were the ones that were messing up the Affordable Care Act website, if you remember that. they bombed the federal deployment of that. But CGI, they're a company out of Canada. They're real big. They do contract maintenance and Linux and all that kind of stuff. So, well, they do all kinds of tech systems, not just Linux. But that's what I did with them. I did Linux heavily with them. With them, I got a public trust. So public trust is a much lower cert. It just basically says this guy's like not. I don't know exactly how to put what it says, but it just says like he's trustworthy with public information. He's not going to give it to other countries or something. That's their assessment, right? So that's that. And then let's see. I had 2 different times. I had one with NOAA for NOAA as far as their what's it called? Their that's also public trust because it's just running through stuff. Enhanced clearance is good for in the U.S. My clearance, my top secret was good with my polygraph for 10 years after my polygraph. My polygraph was in 2010, so had I remained on that, my clearance would still be active. But they can reactivate clearances, which getting a clearance when you already had a clearance is a lot easier because they basically do a diff between where your life is now and where it was then. And as long as there's not too many things different, it's not too hard to get the rest of that top secrets out of the way. So to get sponsored, you have to stand out from well, I mean, Nick, you have to get hired. Yeah, you have to. I mean, if there's 500 people and they're only hiring 10, to do that, you got to get hired. Yes, yep. And I don't know where the defense contractors stand on any of that stuff. I don't know how any of them look at that right now. I haven't done direct defense work. I've worked with. I've been doing a lot with Department of Defense, but not directly. So I've been working on different projects that are touching Department of Defense indirectly. Like my company is subcontracted under Dell, and then we're doing work for different government customers, and those government customers are either, they're not Department of Defense, but they're adjacent to them in different places, right? So there's that. So it's interesting, it's interesting where you can pick up, because you can get a lot of skills. I mean, you can work on a lot of this stuff and learn a lot of this stuff. I've been really pushing the guys down in our Discord. Like I'm always pushing the guys on the basics because I think the basics is like you gotta know the basics, guys. Like if you understand the basics of this stuff, then I think that'll help. Hold on, is it did this break? Why did Rocky 17 not respond? Is he down? No, he's up. It definitely didn't finish though, did it? I don't know if I know this node's what did you say? Oh, it's GHZ. It won't find MHZ. So it's the GHZ. Yeah, so it's probably because you use MHZ and they have GHZ. So if you did just HZ, I think that would have worked fine. So question was from Mute. What do I consider the basics? Well, I would say there's a lot of basics. Like having the basics down. Like so, there's this story. It's commonly attributed to Mark Twain, but who knows? Who knows if it was him or somebody else? I've always been told it was Mark Twain. I'm writing you this long letter because I haven't the time to write you a short one. The idea is, if I could sit down and think about it, I could write you a very short, concise thing. But if you were like to put me on the spot and say, Scott, what do I need to know about Linux to like get a job? I would say, okay, you got to start with knowing how the system comes up, right? And then when you're at an operating system, so knowing how the system starts and boots and all these things around, like what could go wrong there, that would be a part of it. But what I would say then after that is how a system operates. So like in normal everyday operation, the system is consuming its CPU, its memory, its disk, and its networking. Those four things are being consumed by the system, right? And they're being consumed in different sizes and ways and orders based on what's happening all the time. So patterns are starting to emerge. So you don't have to know the pattern stuff. Move that out of the way. You have to know how to check on the system. That's like early stuff. So but with that comes, you got to understand some bash, right? You got to be able to do some command line stuff. You have to so there's that. I would tell you then, on top of knowing how it's all operating and knowing how utilized it is, I would tell you need to know how to configure all those pieces, and to check if they're in good configuration. Like one of the things, like you guys might think like that when I ask you stuff like, hey, how much CPU and RAM is on a box? Like you might think that I'm just being silly. But did you guys know that some servers, and I would say most enterprise class like big servers, they will give alerts that something's wrong with the memory, but they will keep chugging along even with different memory. So if you're not like actively watching for alerts and stuff, a system might just change from 386 megs of or gigs of RAM to 354, and nobody notices it. But it F's up all the workflows that are going across that system for damn sure. Those workflows are not going to work the same if they've been tuned by your scientists to be on 386. And nowadays I'm talking like 2 terabytes of RAM in boxes in some of these liquid cooled systems we're using. But it's a perfect ratio. It's 2 terabytes to 256 cores. So the ratio of those 2 terabytes to that is like, I think it's 1 core for every, somebody do the math on it, right? I think it's 1 every 8 in that instance. Or some of them, yeah, we have, so I'm trying to think of like some of the known ones we have that they're 512 cores with 2 terabytes, so it's 1 to 4. 1 core for every 4 gigs of RAM. And those things, and the system would keep running, guys, again, with one of those sticks down. And you say, yeah, but my system at home doesn't do that. Your system at home's not an enterprise server, right? Like they behave differently. So where I'm going with that is, you can check all of these things in a system, right? And they're simple commands. Every single thing we do is a simple command. And then it's constructed into pipes. And then it's all these other things, right? And we just keep constructing it. All right, hold on. This one is, I do like the color scheme, but I'm going to stop this one and go back to my original one because I think that's my original one. I know for sure this is my original one. My original one won't give the colors, but it will it won't have that error over there. So can you tell me if this system is physical or virtual? This is important. How you maintain a physical server is totally different than how you maintain a physical or a virtual one. So anyway, so all that stuff to say, the question was, what do I think the basics are? The basics are, can you get into a Linux box and can you do stuff at the command line? The stuff you do at the command line has to do with utilization, saturation, and error of the system, admin type tasks, managing a workflow and triaging things that come in to make you do. Triaging things that come in and managing tasks, setting up users and user space is really important to understand where users get their files, what happens. And the command is, what was the command? You did answer, but you gave no command. So it did try to SSH over, but then it didn't do anything. So that's kind of funny. That's what happens if you give answer with nothing. So that's kind of funny. I had not seen that before. I wasn't sure how that would behave, so that's just kind of funny. So I mean, looking at this stuff, it's like you gotta spend time with this stuff. I would advise, like I tell you guys all the time, it doesn't have to be us. It doesn't have to be our Prolog. It can be anybody. There was when I was young, like out here in Phoenix, there was a place called Charter. And they used to, their little commercials were like, if you don't get help at charter, please get help somewhere. That's something they always said at the end of their things, and I always was like, man, that's pretty good if you ask me. Like, just don't don't. Why is this one not working? Rocky 15 hosed up again. I feel like, let's go look at 15. Is 15 down? Oh, 15's up too. Something going on with that command. Oh no, it came back with Zen. Okay, all right. There you go. Control Byte said, oh no, Control Byte came in, so his worked. System detect vert said Zen. Lord processor, yours are just not happy. I don't think you have to escape those ors in your logic there. I don't think you do anyways. I haven't had to. Like, pipes work fine for me, so you should be able to do that without it. Should work anyways. So yeah, and then Trevor over on YouTube said the LPI Linux Essentials. Yeah, I think anything that gets you touching a system is probably one of the, I kind of think of it like this too. If you're not doing any Linux, right? If you're not doing anything, get to a command line, start working on a command line. If you're doing something, right? If you're doing something and you're already Linux, maybe you built a system, tore it down, built it a few times, and you're like, okay, I get what's going on here. Then I would say the next thing you would do then is maybe you would, if that part isn't bothering you or isn't having any hard time, then I would say maybe start getting into like sysadmining. Like, so go and find. So we got one of our guys, Fisherman. He put together some really nice labs that sit you down. Basically, they're labs up on Killer Coda, and you sit down and you just start getting trouble tickets in the lab. The lab's just sending you trouble tickets, and you have to resolve trouble tickets from users. And some of them are like, this is the stupidest thing I've ever seen. That's what happens to users, man. You ever seen those videos where like a farmer goes out and like a goat's like stuck like upside down in like a cage or like on a fence or something? He's all wrapped up and they're like, how the hell did he even do that? And it's still alive and it's just like kicking its legs or whatever, and they have to cut it out. That's exactly what it's like with users. And you guys think, oh man, I'm being nice, man. Anybody here that's ever worked with users is like, oh, fucking these users, man. I can't believe this. But here's the thing, and this is what I always tell people before you get too cynical. We're the ones that are experts in Linux. We're the ones that do this stuff day in and day out. They just come down in our world a little bit to get some of their work done, and then they leave. So I try to tell people, like, think of it like that. Like, I'm also not an expert at flying planes, so I hope a pilot knows what he's doing. And it's the same kind of thing with these guys. Like, they're dropping down into our world to do their research or to do whatever stuff they need to do, executing code that they just like they don't understand or care about what's going on underneath this stuff, right? By the way, the timeout, the command that I have that wraps everything has a 10-second timeout. Here, I'll show you guys while we're doing this. Here, I'll show you guys what the this is what the scripts look like. Actually, I want to diff stream watchers and stream watchers.orig. I think they're the same one right now. No. Oh, I changed it because it was for that. So the orig is mine, the one that we were just running. This is what this one looks like. This is a simple little. Is that one mine? Yeah, this one's mine. This is the one that I wrote. And this is the one we were just running. Now, I do like the one that's current, which is Colchis, right? So we'll just run that. His is nice because it color codes things, but the command color keeps getting jacked up. So that's what I would tell you. And then again, mute, since you're still around, I would tell you, like, find a group, find people that are doing this stuff and go and work with them. We are a group that does that. And, I tell people all the time, you're welcome to hang out. Welcome to go down Discord. You don't even have to buy anything, guys. There's nothing to buy in Discord. Like, you can ask these guys that have been hanging out in Discord. There's nothing to buy in Discord. You can go and buy stuff in the shop later, but there's nothing to buy in the Discord. Like, it's not like, hey, you got to buy this to go kick it. Like, that's not what we do. The hanging out is free. The hanging out and learning this stuff, doing all the courses and working with other people, I think that this is maybe the thing that's most valuable, because you're like, if you've ever watched a fire, I don't know if any of you ever watched a fire. You know, you're out camping or something, you're just sitting there watching the fire. The coals that move far away from the fire, they kind of like get cold and die faster than the rest of the fire. And if you keep the fire all built up, it's nice and, you know, it's the fire keeps going. You got to keep adding fuel, keeping it up in the center and all that stuff, have the air flow through it, all that kind of stuff. And you might have to buy Brotato. Sure. Yeah, but you don't have to play Brotato or anything on stream. I was playing Brotato earlier, but I've been mostly playing this Ember Ward game. It's pretty fun. But anyway, so can you tell me how much RAM we have? What do you guys got for that? Anybody got an answer for how much RAM we have? What's that? Again, these ones, we've been going through these. I need to write more of these. But these are, you know, these are the basics. These are the foundational things that an admin needs to know. And even if they seem simple, you don't want to have, it's almost like when you're in the middle of an incident, you don't want to be reaching for a tool that's not there. And somebody asks you like, "Hey, Scott, what's the," you know, somebody asks you like, "Hey, what's you know, we're right in the middle of it. We just need to, you know, we're going to calculate the size of the Java virtual machine that we can have on this machine. Can you tell me how much memory is on the machine?" And you're like, no. Oh shoot, I can't. And then, you know, and then now you just sit there and go, hope somebody comes and saves me from my team or something. That's no good. Also, I don't think you guys can see it. I got a black eye. Where's it at? Hold on. I'll tell you guys. I'll do a weird thing with my phone that'll maybe tell me which side it's on. Oh, it's over. It's on this side. You guys probably can't see it, but I got a black eye right in there. I got it wrestling this morning. That's always fun. Free-H works. Colchis, if you're around, I don't know if you're around or not. Maybe you're watching this tomorrow, but your command works and does the color right up until the end, and then it doesn't work on the command. So maybe we just strip that part out where we tell what the command is. Here, I'm gonna do that real quick, real time. Watch. I'm gonna strip it out of his. Their command is. Oh. Maybe I can't do it. Somebody give me a command. Yeah, cool. Cause don't worry about it. I'm gonna try that. I'm gonna try to put a space in there. I don't know if I don't think that'll matter. But if somebody give me an answer of any answer you want. Yeah. No worries, Cole. Cause no rush on any of that stuff. Yeah. We're looking at Rocky Linux for sure. Maybe I just need to do. Hold on. I mean, I don't think we have to do that. I don't think we need slash before the 033. This one? Oh. Can anybody send me another command? Just exclamation mark answer something. I can do it. There it is. It worked. And then there was also a little timing thing. You see how it took mine, but it didn't take the other two. So there is a little bit of a timing. Trevor, you got to do answer, exclamation mark answer. You guys got to preface everything with exclamation mark answer, and then it would do that. You can do a hello stream. There you go. Yep. It looks like it worked. So good. Good. We got that working. So now we just keep answering questions, right? This is might seem a little silly, but I'm telling you, these basic things are things that I do all time, all day. And my stuff just keeps kind of building up. Code reader, you got to do exclamation mark answer space ls, and then it would have sent that in. Yep. Yeah. So that'll work for you guys like that. Do I still have that up there? Yeah. And you guys can also do exclamation mark challenge and change the challenge line there. So if you guys have a specific question you want to ask different than our system one. Now, with that being said, some of them earlier have been like comma separated values and then sorting them. We would have to have data to do that, right? There's things that we can't really do, right? So you got to understand there's a limitation. I mean, it would be like, hey, can you make a data pipeline right now? And I'm like, well, no. I mean, as it were, I'm not gonna unfortunately sit down and do that. That would be way too much work. But could we reboot a box? Could we watch it? But we'd do all kinds of stuff if we wanted to, right? We have all the power in the world here, guys. So see if the wife's messaging me. I think she's on her way home soon. Let's see. All right. What else do we have here? Oh, nice. Okay. One of my buddies just opened a jujitsu gym. So that'll be fun to go over there and train some jujitsu with him. All right. Hopefully I don't catch any more black eyes. Also, I'm kind of glad I don't have my little text to speech going right now, because I can only imagine what that thing would actually say. Yeah. That is true that there's a bunch of reasons why Rocky is used. There are a bunch of reasons right now why Rocky is used in government systems. It's got to support. You can support all the even numbered releases are long-term support. It's very important. Don't deploy a whole big government system on 9.3 because 9.3 is being supported at the time. You guys ever seen that scene? There's a bunch of ways to probably think about this, but have any of you guys ever seen the scene in I want to say it's the second Spider-Man movie with what was his name? Him and Kirsten Dunst. What's his name? A lot of people don't like him as Spider-Man. I don't care about all that, but what was that kid's name? Toby something. I don't know. Was it Tobey Maguire? Was that him? And then, anyways, where I'm going with that is, do you remember the scene where he walks up and oh God, why can't I think of that dude's name now? Bruce Campbell is like, your shoe's untied, and he does it. I think he even fixed his tie, and then he doesn't let him in. He like corrects all this stuff, and he's like, oh no, you can't go in. The show's already started, right? And I forgot where I was going with that too. I don't know what's going on with my. I think I'm just tired lately, but yeah, something's going on. Anyways, yeah. Anyways, yeah. So enterprise systems. This is funny. So they let us deploy 9.3, and we put it on a system, and like the werewolf guys and then it's CIQ is the company, and they were like, "Oh, you're doing good, guys, doing good. Put 9.3 on that system. Excellent work. This and this and this." Come to find out, it rolls forward, and we're we get to 9.4, so then 9.3 is still supported because it's one back, and then when we go to 9.5, 9.5 supported, and 9.4 and 9.2 are, and 9.0, I guess, but not 9.3 anymore. So we have no more support with them, and we're like, are you fucking kidding? It's like they watched us do it. Every time we put in a ticket or whatever, nobody ever told us that that's a thing. So I tell everybody, I tell every government customer, I'm like, hey, this is awesome that you guys are choosing to use Rocky, this and this and this. Stay on the even versions. It's like that game. Do you guys remember Most Extreme Elimination Challenge, where they would run and they had to run out, and it was sinkers and floaters, and people would just like crash. That was a really funny show. You couldn't tell which one was gonna sink or float, and they would just run out across these things. Anyway, so that's what this was like. Was the even number versions, subversions, so 9.2, 9.4, 9.6, 9.8, 9.10 will be supported long-term support. The even number, or those are even number versions. The odd number versions will not be. Wipeout, yeah. I think, so it was Wipeout here, but I think originally it was like Most Extreme Elimination Challenge. MXC, right? I think that was its original name, so. Nick, you said it's 11. It's only 8 for me. I'm in Phoenix. You suckers on the East Coast, you're all out of time. You got to go to bed. Wake up in the morning. I still got another hour. Well, 2 hours. But I don't stay up super late. Not anymore, man. I tried to stay up late. Actually, it was funny. My wife was out of town, and I tried to stay up late. What night was that? Does anybody remember? I think it was maybe Saturday night, and I like hit a wall. I just hit a wall and like dropped off. I was done. I was too tired. So generate high load for 3 minutes on the system. That's high memory load. What would that be? It would be like answer stress dash m maybe 4. Maybe something like that. Oh, we don't have stress on there. Well, can't. No helping then. Trevor, you're over in Japan making burritos, huh? That's pretty funny. James, I'm very glad you have a comma there. I'm very glad that you properly used a comma there, because that message. So James' message is, I'm going to be up late cleaning, comma, myself. So that's what he's going to be doing. He's not going to be cleaning himself, which is the way my brain would have parsed that, and that wouldn't be super fun. So that's funny. Yeah, I thought I had stress on those boxes, on the Rocky boxes, but apparently I don't. So I do like the colors. I think the colors look good. I think they highlight the command that we're going to drop in, and then what's going to happen on the system. So that's kind of good. Also, help me out. Those are different colors, aren't they? Yeah, those are definitely different colors. I mean, different colors from each other. Guys, I'm pretty colorblind, but I'm pretty sure these are all like a yellowish. And that's orange and green? I don't know. Something's going on. Yeah, James, I'm very glad you added that, James. Be like, why did somebody get banned from your stream? Well, they were a little too open. No, I'm just kidding. I wouldn't ban anybody for that. That's awkward. You don't want to say, and also the other side of it is you never know what a streamer is going to say back because they might be like, tell us more, and then that would be, you know, also just terribly inappropriate. Not even. Yeah, that would be weird. All right, can you show all of the use space on the /root partition of a system? Do you guys know how to do that? YouTube is lime green. Okay, lime green. But the Trevor CG is a different color too. Yeah, good night, Nick. Hopefully you guys, anybody watching, hopefully this is somewhat useful to you guys. Even though we're not super, like, working too hard right now. It's because they've been keeping me busy at work, so not working too hard right now on the system or anything. Can you show all the use space? Something like that. And these are interesting boxes because these are TempFS systems, so they are not using any of the actual drives that are in them. That might hit the 10 or the 10-second timeout. That DU-H. Oh, that also might not have had any output because DU-H is going to be defaulted in the /root directory. So, should be good. Yeah, Nick. Yeah, I appreciate that. If if you're interested, go check out the Discord. We got a lot of stuff going on in the Discord. The Discord's definitely much more high-paced than this. I'm just hanging. I'm literally messing around right now, waiting for the wife to get home. So, when the wife gets home, I'll probably hop off. But I wanted to hop on and stream a little bit. We had talked a little bit about the kind of the challenge between the two scripts. So we have two different scripts that are out there that can do these things, right? We have the original. Which one was I just running? Yeah, the Colchis one. So there's Colchis' script. Actually, it's more his script because I think his goes off the top. And he has like what he fixed and what he did. And then getting down to the bottom, here's the loop right here, right? And whenever you look at like a script, you look for, well, for me, you typically, you've got whatever's at the top telling you what's going on. And then you get down to like what I think of as kind of like the main loop, right? In this one, this is the main everything that's going on. If we had functions, we would have functions defined typically up above, and then, well, actually, since it's sequential, you have to define the functions above, and then you'd get down and you would do your main block or main loop or whatever down here. And yeah, it works, right? So the other one also worked, but it was inspectors. His was a little different. His was watching, so he's doing a different one. He's execing out a tail dash, and he's watching the file, and then he's reading each line out of it as he goes. This one had an error last night, though. I'm trying to look at what that error is. But yeah, he's reading the line here. I want to say it was right in here there was an error. Anyways, so we're using Colchis' version right now. It's doing good enough. So if you guys have any answers, just !answer. You might have to do that one again, Trevor, because I had cut out for a second. Might have to do that one again. But try just that. See what happens there. It's gonna time out. That's gonna time out. There you go. No, it didn't time. It made it to the end. It's impressive. I'm impressed. Oh, I'm all out of water too. But does anybody know how to check all the use space in the current directory you're in? This might not yield a different answer than the root of the file system, because it's very possible that you're in a directory that's mounted from root. So, but how would you know that? Anybody know? The timer is 3 minutes, by the way, in case anybody's wondering. But how would you show the use space of the current directory you're in? Which is also /root, by the way.
Today we're talking.
Fork something? For just the... For this? No, this one's easy. Well, I mean, easy. And all the space in the directory you're in. Ah, you're doing an ls-lh like that. Can you show all the use space in the current directory you're in? So it's D, it's the same thing. So only the directory you're in would be dot, because that would be the same as doing. So I'm in. So we could make this complex. Watch, I'll show you this. We could say I'm only doing this to show you. I'm only doing this to show what I'm showing you guys. I'm only doing to show you. But see how they're the same? So print working directory shows us that we're in /root. df-h dot and df-h path working directory, which was root, do the same thing. Because we're in root. We're in /root. That's the home directory of root user, and you haven't chosen to move anywhere as you drop into these shells. You could technically move to a different shell. You could CD or a different directory, CD, and then a directory semicolon. Don't do a colon; it'll break the thing, and then the rest, and then it would do it. But I did that just to highlight what the command's doing. If you do a df-h with no argument, it'll do all of them. But maybe you only wanted to know the one you're in, right? And also, one of the other things I really like about this is, and this is something that happens separate, is that tells me if I'm in a separately mounted so if I were down in a directory path somewhere and I'm like, man, am I on the system or am I in a network on the system? df-h will always tell me where I'm at. So it'll point right back to, in this case, we're just on a file system. But if I was down, in var cache and I'm like, oh shoot, is this one of our stigged boxes that has var? Like, am I in a physical stigged box where this is in its own partition, or is this in a virtual machine where I don't give a shit? And I never carved them up different. They're the same ones. Well, there we would know. So, but again, very, very simple commands, but they tell us a lot about what's going on. Like, where. And you might say, well, what's the importance of that? Well, I mean, I'm trying to move some files just for a little temp move, and I'm down in. I find that /temp isn't big enough, but I was down in there and having problems. You save yourself a lot of headache by just checking real quick. I know people that they'll be like, man, I couldn't get that 225 gig whatever didn't move, and I'm like, well, I'm in that directory and it's only 200 gigs, so you were never gonna move it there. And they're like, oh shoot, I didn't even think about that. And it's like, or they move something somewhere and then they decompress it and it just. And it's like one of those little, like, if I opened in my room here, like one of those inflatable rafts, and it just fills up with air, and then you're like, it's terrible. It's terrible. So that's my thoughts on that. Anyways, can you show all the processes that are in the directory you're in? So that's an important one. And why? And then another thing, this would be a deeper one, is like, why would you care all the processes that are in the directory you're in? Like what's the implication? What's the thing that we learn by that, right? It's an LSOF command, by the way. Did that one have like a shorter time? Can you show all the processes? This one's important. I'll do it over on the YouTube side. Exclamation mark, answer, LSOF, dot, or LSOF, or LSOF root, because they're all the same. They're all the same command. They're all going to give me the same thing. They should have all given me the same thing before they timed out. Although, funny enough, it's a lot more than I'm used to seeing, so. No, all the processes of the directory you're in is something definitely more like LSOF. Nope. Don't need any of that. Can you show all the process? Okay, so you got that. You guys know how to do that. Can you show the long listing of some different directories? You could do them in different commands if you wanted to. Or you could loop over them in one if you wanted. I'm okay with that. Also, getting tagged and stuff. All right. So we got all those things. You can just check the long listing of any one if you wanted to. You can just do answer ls-ld on root. And that'll give us a long listing of /root. And then the question to think about is, do I understand what those permissions are? Do I, if there was no alias for root, would I or no alias for color on root, would I know what that means still? Another way to look at that might be something like this. Do this over on the Twitch side. Answer, and it would be unalias ls, something like that, and we'll unalias root. Am I losing my mind? Pretty sure. Well, now I'm losing my mind. Is there no alias for ls? Well, that's new. I'm used to aliasing or having the alias set, but apparently it's not set anymore on these boxes. I need to go find where ls is getting its colors from then. Because if you just did ls on a box, I guess maybe I removed that. I can't imagine I would have removed alias just like to make you to like force you guys to not use the color scheme. I can't imagine I would have done that to you guys. It doesn't seem like something I would have done. Oh, well. Either way. Yeah. Can you remount the temp directory? You can't on these systems just because how they're mounted. Yeah, can you list the number of free inodes? That's an important one. Told you guys I've run out of inodes on some big systems before. Only on GPFS, funny enough. I've never run out of inodes on any other file system ever. Only a file system called GPFS. So, can you list the number of free inodes in / in the root of the file system? All right. Well, that'll show you. You want df-i. Do df-i and it'll show you the number of inodes. And the reason that's important is the inodes are tied to the they're tied to the disk, or well, they're tied to the device, and the file system that's on it. The file system that's mounted, the inodes are, and it's so it's weird because if you're using a parallel file system, they're typically stored off in metadata controllers. Like there's different types of metadata controllers for GPFS and for Lustre and other stuff like that. And this is actually really important if you're troubleshooting them, because you need to know which one was your online, which one was your backup, which one had write access, and then sometimes you do end up losing data if somebody manages to break something bad enough, right? Or if you do manage to crash something and then there's no more addressable storage space, even though you have exabytes of data out there to use, but you have exabytes of space, but you don't have anywhere to put it because you don't have more ways to label the data in the file system. And the fix to that is you can add more inodes, but if you didn't see a problem, you crash into the wall before you back up and kind of go around it, and now you've got this operationally you've been down, and that's not good, right? Like I tell you guys all the time, the key performance indicator that matters the most to an operations team is 100% of the time their ability to keep the system operational. And if you're just banging the ship off of things, that's not good. That's like the Titanic method of sysadmining. That's not good. All right, touch temp test file. Can you hard link to that file 3 times? So this one would be a little more challenging to do in the individual, but answer touch temp test file, and then ln. And one thing that I would show in here, so if you did that, you would make temp test file, right? And then you would touch it, so you would, in the first command, you would touch the file, and then we would see that it's there. Good. And then we would link it to test file 1 or however many other ones we had, and then we would list it again, and now we would see this number change right here. And this number is the number of hard links to a file in the file system, right? That point to the same memory location out there on disk somewhere. And to delete a Linux file, all you have to do is reduce that number to 0. So if I rm-rf temp test file, it would go down to 1. And it would only be addressable and findable on the system anymore through temp/temp/test file 1 if I just deleted the one here. And if I kept making them, I wouldn't be adding to the file system size in any way. I would just be setting inode pointers to it. That's all I'd be doing. So That's something to kind of play around with and see. Okay. But can you touch temp and then hard link to that file 3 times? Sure. We only did it. We only did the one time there, but can you hard link across file system boundaries? The answer to that question is no. You cannot, because it's a locally addressable. The inode pointer is a locally addressable piece of storage in that file system, and it doesn't even make sense to hard link somewhere else. It'd be, again, in the example of libraries that I always use, it would be like if you went to one library and you pulled up the card catalog and it said, hey, this is right here in this library. It's in this bookshelf over in a different library. You'd be like, what are you talking about? I'm in this library. I've got a card right here from the card catalog that says it's in this library. That card catalog only services this library. It can't point outside the library. That doesn't make any sense. Only soft links can. Soft links can point and wait and be broken. They could be read until it becomes available, and then the file system, it's available. But a soft link doesn't actually have. It's a, what would we call it? I guess like a reference pointer. Like you're not really connected over there. So soft links can be made across boundaries. Hard links cannot. Can you cat out the contents of the Etsy FS tab? Right? The Etsy FS tab is where we define the mount points in a system, right? So could you do that? I think most of you could probably do that. Cat out the contents of it. Where's the... All right. Yeah, that's going to be fun. What is that? Not even sure what that is. Cat Etsy A to Z. I wonder if that one ran out of time. No, I had never seen that. I think that's interesting. We do see our Anaconda. This looks like an Anaconda or a Kickstart. Whatever this is. Yeah. Well, there you go. So, I'm actually curious now. On one of those boxes, I'm gonna leave that up. But I'm gonna jump over here real quick. Let's go. I left that running all night. Let's go Rocky 14 real quick, and then on Rocky 14. What one did that find first? That's the first file it found. That thing was... By the way, those are still running over there. etsy sysconfig anaconda. Wasn't that? Yeah, I'm not sure exactly what that did. In the root. Did he do it against the home though? Or against the... Where's that command at? Oh, I see. Yeah. So it found... Yeah, that makes sense. There we go. So this was the Anaconda Kickstarter that was used on the build for that. Okay. Well, there you go. How's it going, Daft Duck? We are not working too hard right now. We are hanging out and talking shop. You guys can drop commands in. You can actually change the question, the challenge with ! challenge, and you can change the or you can run commands with ! Answer if you guys want. So I might drop off here soon and play some more of that little Ember game. That might be kind of fun. Yeah, Robedom, the challenge will be right over here next to me. Right over there. Yeah, if you do an ! challenge, it'll be right over there. Mine's the most recent one. Nobody's changed it. It can only change every 2 minutes, but I changed it like an hour ago. Yeah. It'll say who did it too, Robedom. If you do like challenge, can you find the Anaconda Kickstart file or something, you could do that, yeah. It would do it. Yeah. I think the space definitely did it. All right. It's gonna jump to networking topics next. We did these the other day. A lot of networking topics. There's a lot of answers on the Discord as well. What we got down to the other day, actually, we did this for a while the other day. We got through all the security ones, and then we got into we did all the user environment the other day. And we got into the bash scripting. Actually, this is where we cut off the other day, was bash scripting. And then could you do files? Could you do, can you create a variable with a data point? Can you loop forever watching uptime? Can you make your system count to 100? All those things actually would work in this command. Yeah. Got some software packages. Can you show all the... This would be a fun one. So here's some software packages one. Can you guys show all the packages that have SSL in the name in a Rocky style box? Could you show all the packages that have SSL in their name that are installed? Not just available in the but are installed. Could we do that? Can you show all those packages? And then I think the next one I say right after that, pretty sure it's the next one. Could you obviously do that command if it helps you guys out, if it helps you retain it, but can you tell me when one of those packages was installed? So like if we wanted to know when OpenSSL-libs was installed on our system, could you do that? What would be a command that would work for that? And you might say this is, this doesn't seem super important. This is very important if you're being asked by like a security team, hey, why do like only 4 of your machines have this OpenSSL-libs on it, but the other 996 don't? It's kind of a weird package. When was it installed? And you're like, I don't know. It's not a very good answer for an engineer, right? I don't know. couldn't possibly be known, right? Like, no, it can be known. Like, you have to get the right tool out and use the right tool, right? So if I need to know that one. RPM QI will tell me all about it. Monday, February 10th, 2025, we put that on this box. Shit, I was on vacation. Wasn't me. It was one of you guys. Actually, fun fact, that's the name of this container. This container is like Rocky, I think Rocky Lab, that date, 10 Feb 2025, because it's when I updated it to get ready for this next round. I think I updated it to get ready for this next round of the course. So I ran it, called it that. So, can you show when the system software was last modified? So now this isn't when was a package put on. This is when was anything changed on this system. Could I find that? And what was the most recent one? When was the system last modified? You know, you got 1,000 servers that you're maintaining, and 30 of them are, you know, not passing security audits. Then you go to find out that they're not in your list, and you go to look at when they've last been patched, and they haven't been patched in years. That would be a problem. That would be a problem. But let's say they just haven't been patched. Well, how would you know that? I mean, obviously, guys, you could just wait for your security team to yell at you because their scans are finding stuff. But wouldn't it be better to be a good admin and a good engineer and fix this shit without somebody, because you can't be mad that somebody comes and tells you how to do your job if you don't know how to do your job and they're always finding your errors, right? Like I feel like you can only have like the indignant fury of like you can't call me that if they can't call you that because you actually know how to do your job. But if you're terrible at your job, you deserve to be called terrible at your job, right? I mean, I know this is not the society for that anymore, but engineering is still like that. And I've told you guys before, I know engineers that if you come to them with like the wrong type of question, or you obviously haven't put anything into it in the system, they're just going to turn their chair around and ignore you. You could stand in their cube all day. They won't talk to you. They'll just turn away and go back to their system. And that's not, I wouldn't even say that's uncommon in engineering. But anyways, we know when the system, all the system software is DNF history, right? Can you verify that you have a software called Cal? All right, no, we're not installing CalSay. All right, we're going to call it here. We're going to call it here. We're not doing CalSay. Let me go to my little end of stream thing. Yeah, I appreciate you guys hanging out. You know, mostly we're just trying to tell you guys that there's a place that you can come and hang out and do Linux and try to, you know, find some way through your career, or possibly if you're going to like consult in this space or something like that. But all the things that we do are up on the Discord. We have many people in there working at getting better at this stuff, and then maybe even working on getting into the career doing this kind of stuff. So, all right. Well, with that, I will just stop streaming here, but I appreciate you guys all coming by, and I will see some of you guys later on this week. Take care.